So I thought the best place to start would probably be likely events that are going to happen. Now, it is likely that Donald Trump becomes the president of the United States. So what might happen from this?
Everyone's looking
Tell
at
us,
me.
Bo.
The Oracle.
You're the
You're
man on the
online.
inside, Bo.
You're online to the president.
Wish I was.
Well, the person with historical knowledge.
Well, a whole raft of things, right? It's a changing of the guard, isn't it? There's no doubt about that. I mean, the Overton window has moved before he's actually in office, you know, in loads and loads of different ways. So, I mean, where to begin? What particular policy do you have in mind?
Foreign policy. Why don't we
About-
throw that one out? I'm gonna
so-
throw something out. The Ukraine war, America will wind down its involvement.
Or it will end.
There's one
think
thing.
in the end-
One thing I'll predict won't happen is any sort of nuclear exchange. I just don't think NATO and the Kremlin are going to nuke each other. I just don't see that.
Well, if you get that wrong, no one's going to hold you accountable.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but that seems likely. I would prefer like Donald Trump coming out kind of Emperor Palpatine style and announcing the new American empire.
Oh, we throwing out outlandish bullshit.
Well, you say outlandish bullshit.
I mean, he's not far off.
Yeah, it's really not far off doing that so far.
Well, no, I know. Well, the one thing going against my prediction there is that, he has suddenly started making claims on Greenland and Canada.
Yeah.
Which I've been told by Josh, who's looked into it a lot more than me, seems to be as a bulwark against Russia.
Yeah, no doubt.
So perhaps the direct conflict on the ground in Ukraine will wind down, whereas more economic style warfare will begin to ramp up again.
I've got a serious one, actually.
Before we move
I-
on from Ukraine, can I
Oh, yeah,
say
yeah, go
a
ahead.
quick point. I think the idea that the planners, the four-star clowns at the Pentagon, their calculation that Russia is a sort of strategic enemy, that's not changing. That
of
won't
course
change. But yeah, as for just giving Ukraine endless money, endlessly politically supporting Zelensky, I think that will come to an end with Trump. But if you view the Ukraine conflict through the lens of resources and energy, rather than simply who controls the Donbass, then again, that's not really going away. But I do think that the Trump, I mean, he's kind of explicitly said it, hasn't he, that he's not going to just keep sending 50 billion here or there over to Zelensky. And again, everything's already moved on that, hasn't it? Zelensky's already come out and publicly said, "Okay, we can't beat the Russian
I think
armies."
he's made comments recently that he'd be open to talks with Putin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that the world will remain a global chessboard of sorts, and that Greenland will be considered an important space in that because of its proximity to the Arctic. I think the one reason why the Americans are particularly cautious about Russian dominance in the Arctic. It's not Russian dominance as such, because I think there are about 7 countries that border the Arctic, and 6 of them are either America itself or aligned with America in the form of NATO. But it's the fact that Russia is increasingly inviting Chinese activity in the Arctic as well. And so I think that's why Trump was keen to acquire Greenland. I think that Canada's more of a troll. I hope so as well, because I don't want to get all of those subcontinental voters they've brought in under Trudeau.
So
or indeed the white lefties.
I think that they probably will wind down in Ukraine, but I think Bo is right on this. It's not going to solve any of the issues, right? It's not going to resolve anything.
Yeah, Harrison talks about sort of the global chessboard. Yeah, none of that is going to change.
Well,
there's
I
only
think it will change. But
Oh, sorry,
of-
profoundly change rather.
Yeah.
There's a few key players that have got a shot at becoming hegemon. There's like China, Russia, United States. Obviously, Russia's economy is.
Yeah, I don't think they.
But they've still got a shot with their nuclear, their nukes and their subs, and all sorts of other reasons. They're sort of on the list of possible potential rivals. That's not going to change.
Okay. I've got one that. I would like Samson to put down that the European Union secedes from America.
What do you mean exactly?
Well, as in, you spelled secedes wrong, but that's okay.
That's fine.
They formally break ties with the
Starts
Trump
with an S.
administration. Right?
What, like full blown no diplomatic?
Yeah, I don't know how far this will go, and obviously this is like a, extreme thing to put on the bingo card. But again, who knows where this goes, right?
Josh, I don't know what you're glaring at. I saw your typing at the Christmas naughty list, lads are.
They put me under a lot of pressure. Do you know how much I had to write?
He had to write at least half a page worth of material. His poor fingers were so sore.
I got there in the end. I mean, I felt everything.
It was a triumph.
Yeah,
So I can genuinely see something like this happening, because Elon Musk and Twitter and Trump's imperial policy, they're already saying things like this. They're already kind of, oh well, Trump's infringing on European sovereignty with his wanting to buy Greenland, or Elon Musk needs regulating off the internet, things like that. And I think that the Trump administration with Musk will not take that very well, and it is entirely possible, I think, that diplomacy will break down because we'll have two very headstrong and intransigent factions that just fundamentally morally disagree on pretty much everything. And so a breakdown of the relationship, I think, is possible.
I would say I can only sort of partially agree with you there. I think you're right to say that there'll be a war of words, and they have got a clash of ideologies. But I think when push comes to shove, the EU haven't got any trousers. They rely on America in all sorts. Well, NATO certainly relies on America for all sorts of money, basically.
Yep.
So they might talk a big game, but as I say, when it really comes to any sort of true breaking with the United States, they won't do it.
You say that.
That's my.
If it was going to happen, I would say it would need to come from the other way around. Trump says you're not paying enough, so
That feels more
therefore
likely.
we're going to pull out as much support from NATO as we have, which would leave the EU in a position where they have to do something.
The point being, though, it'd be a kind of spiral that goes down. One side does one thing, one side does another thing, and then suddenly
A Cold War.
not a Cold War, but like a formal sort of diplomatic rift between these two. Honestly wouldn't surprise me if by the end of the year we're seeing something like that. Like I said, it's not a prediction, it's something to go on the bingo card. But
It's also interesting how the different national populist parties in Europe, depending on the countries that they hail from, have very different attitudes to America. I mean, so even though people would naturally lump, I don't know, Giorgia Meloni and the AfD together, the AfD is actually much more sceptical of American influence in Europe.
yeah, Meloni's
than
quite
Giorgia
pro.
Meloni's a sort of thoroughgoing Atlanticist, so it'll be interesting to see how those dynamics play out, not just as between Europe and America, but as between the different parties in Europe, the different populist parties, which are insurgent at the moment. They are rising. They are going to have a say, presumably, in the truth of what you're predicting, Carl.
Well, like I said, it's not a prediction, it's just something to go on the bingo card. But another thing to add to that is, I think that the liberal bureaucracy and establishment in the European Union feels somewhat besieged by the populists. And I think they'll be happy to lean into the rift in order to kind of shove it in the faces of the populists. Because the populists are mostly in favour of Trump, even if they're not like raging, sort of flag-waving MAGA types. They're still more generally sympathetic to the Trump world than the EU bureaucracy is. So I think there are lots of factors that could lead to this event.
And we should say as well that the big national players, of course, in Europe are going to continue to be France and Germany. And I would say that the French right and the German right are particularly America-phobic in their disposition.
I was just going to say that America also has an incentive to not have a strong Europe.
Absolutely.
In that, they've seen us as a rival before, and they'll see us as a rival again if we get our act together and start doing things correctly.
What's this we?
What? Oh, come on.
You one of those
I said
Commonwealth
literally the
maximising
EU.
types.
I think.
Well, I think Europe operates as its own political bloc, though, doesn't it? Even though Britain is distinct from the continent, and rightly so, I still think that we are more European aligned, perhaps.
I mean,
But
they are
as a
right
nation-
next door.
Yeah.
I'd rather stick with the Anglosphere
Well, so would
I
I.
do not consider the US part of the Anglosphere anymore.
Canada, hard to claim.
anymore.
I think Harrison is right, though. That could prove to be completely the opposite. If AfD and Le Pen get in, then the entire nature of the EU is flipped.
It might.
Because it's run by, say, Germany and France. It's run by Germany. If the AfD become the government, what the EU is will change, right? So we'll see.
So we're putting the EU becomes right wing down.
Yeah, that's not.
So we're covering all bases.
That's quite likely.
Evola's dream of a based Europe comes to fruition.
And then we're stuck.
Declares the Imperium. Yeah.
Then we're stuck with gay America. I'm sorry, even under Trump, America will still be very gay.
Sure.
But
Europe's still going to be gay too.
On that,
Yeah, well, it's our gay, though, aren't they? It's like Berlin
know,
gay
man.
versus San Francisco gay. There's a qualitative difference there.
San
I'd rather
Francisco
stick with the Berlin gays.
No. San Francisco gay
That's getting
owes
cropped.
way more to English culture than Berlin gays too. Man, I'm telling you. Like the Euros, like honestly, I lived out there for 8 years.
The Berlin gays are my Germanic cousins,
Then
and I
Not
accept
really,
them
though.
as they are.
honestly, it's an alien culture. I'm not even joking. We're more like the Americans than we are the Euros,
I think that's probably true.
which is just I mean,
But-
common sense as well.
But on a similar vein to what Harry's talking about, I think that Trump will alienate his Christian nationalist base.
Really,
Yep.
Oh yeah, one that I wanted to put down is that the MAGA base will increase its rift with the tech bros.
Well, yeah, I think that that's a point.
Why the
of
Christian
aggravation.
nationalists?
Because Trump is already sort of, in some ways, a candidate of convenience. I think the things that his sort of laissez-faire approach to abortion has angered a few people. His alliance with the tech bro right, which are more interested in economics than culture, and I think the Christian nationalist base is largely focused on the cultural aspects, and I think that Trump, being quite liberal really, might aggravate them, and I think that many of the things that he's doing, particularly with the H-1B visa stuff, as well as the fact that people will probably cotton on to the fact that, hey, he's not quite as radical as we think. Actually, the media talking about how extreme and dangerous he was tricked us into thinking that he's more on our side than he really was.
okay, but alienating the Christian nationalist base isn't really extreme enough for this. He's already done that. Like, yeah, they're angry, but they're blue-balled. What are they going to do about it? Nothing.
But you're including the nationalist aspect in that. So that encompasses not just abortion but H-1B as well.
A lot of things.
Yes.
I think the rightward portion of his base are going to get fed up of Trump being too liberal.
Okay, but you got to take that to its insane logical conclusion for this.
Okay. There's going to be a based MAGA uprising against Trump.
What,
Civil
create a
war.
new party?
I don't know.
Well, no, there's
No, civil war. Where's the
Civil
beanies?
war, yeah. Where's Tim Paul when you need him?
So what we call
MAGA
it?
Civil War. MAGA Civil War, yeah.
Yeah, MAGA civil war. Why not?
That's already happened there.
Yeah, we need.
You
specifics.
can't mean like something ultra specific.
I'm sorry, you want us to take it to the most retarded,
No.
all the way to the end of the logical chain, but also as many details as possible.
Yes. So are we looking at a new MAGA party, like a MAGA party without Trump?
I think they'll try and stab Trump in the back, so to speak. Not that he owns their allegiance to begin with, but I see people getting fed up with Trump. I don't.
Sure, but I see them being just blue balled and just being like, well, you've got nowhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think they're going to do anything.
All right, here's something. He's going to end up not reducing immigration.
Sure, but
Legal.
Yep,
Yeah, legal.
and illegal.
Really? You
I
go that
Don't think
far?
he'll, don't think he'll,
I'll
seal,
go
you
that
don't think
far.
he'll seal the border?
I think he could
think
have done a
he'd
lot
do
more
something like
last
something
time, and
Yes.
I think that actually he's got new masters now that are even less interested in that, and so there's no indication that he's going to be particularly strong on that.
Well, one
It's
of
very
those-
cynical, I know, and I hope I'm wrong.
I don't know. I think putting Homan in charge of the border is a pretty strong move. I do think that this has been a point that Trump's been consistent on. He's been constantly trying to build the wall. He did build some wall. I think he genuinely believes that. I think the H-1B visas are much more of a backdoor than the illegal immigrant stuff.
But my worry is that he's sort of been very cold on the mass deportation side of things. He should be hammering that home, not.
Is he?
I think he's been cooling down it a little bit. I have seen this, yes, in interviews. And
Well, one of the
How about
questions
this
is
one?
about the Dreamers?
Well,
Is he going to give sort of just a full sweeping amnesty to all the Dreamers?
how about this as the prediction? He gives amnesty to the DACA.
you think that will happen?
He basically said it
I
in
don't
December.
think- I
Okay.
don't think-
No, that's a good
No.
Well,
one.
the thing is, he said both over the years.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
He said
yeah.
both.
He's-
He said,
DACA.
The ACA.
I think that's fair.
He's
DACA amnesty.
I think
He's
that's
been-
extremely unlikely.
he's
Actually
been
put
very
DACA/Dreamer
up and down on it. He's been contradictory.
Yeah, no, he has.
But with the kind of people that he's surrounding himself with in this administration, the tech bros, I would expect that they would not want to deport all of the Dreamers.
Yeah, that's that's a possible thing.
Mhm.
Okay, interesting. Right, let's move to Britain.
If you would like to see the full version of this premium video, please head over to lotuseaters.com and subscribe to gain full access to all of our premium content.